Let's start with the first one. So when we're talking about like the biggest challenge or struggle that you're experiencing before you started, how would you quantify that?
I would put it as a mental state. I didn't realize I could even do this. My ability to set a higher bar and have greater aspirations, but it's just gone so much further beyond what it would have been um, prior to this program. I've done CrossFit, I've had a personal trainer, and never saw what I see now. I bought some like just wife beater tank tops
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
while back. It was before the program that I bought them. I put it on and I was like, oh, this looks bad. Put it on last night, but it looked so different. It's far surpassed my expectations of what I could actually look like.
Dan, what would you say to somebody who's on the fence with purchasing or starting a 16 week?
Simply enough, I'd be like, just do it. Sign up for it and just start, right? Like just start and just see what starts to happen.
Well, cool, man. Well, I'm excited to talk about you and talk about your results here. So, I don't know if you got a chance to see the thing I sent over,
Yep. I
but
pulled it up and so I'll fill it out. I just had it up. I just had some work stuff I was trying to bust out this morning. I took yesterday off, and so, but I will fill
yeah,
it out. But we can talk about the pieces in here
yeah, no
and
worries.
dive. I'll get you written responses to those.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love that. But I wanted to connect with you and just kind of talk a little bit more about your results. So let's start with the first one. So when we're talking about like the biggest challenge or struggle that you're experiencing before you started, how would you quantify that?
I would I would put it as a mental state that it was a that there was a poor mental state of what I could actually do, right? You go
Mm,
long enough in life and you do these things where you have mediocre results,
yeah,
and pretty soon is you realize that's that's good enough. Like you change your aspirations to not be disappointed, right? Or whatever it is.
yeah.
And and so prior to that, I think that would I would probably quantify that more as like the biggest thing holding me back from being where I am today.
Mm,
Is that I didn't realize I could even do this, like look like this,
yeah, yeah.
have this type of physique, and um, so yeah, that I would say that it would be the biggest factor is really just a self damning uh, uh, mindset.
Cool. Yeah, great perspective on that. I That's a probably one of the most common that I hear from people is it's the whole goldfish concept. We get to the point where if we just turn it up, or the frog concept, sorry, we turn up the temperature on the frog, we're going to boil the frog at a certain point. The frog doesn't even realize it's being boiled. And we do that to ourselves as we turn down our expectations a little bit at a time. We say, well, this is probably what I'm used to, and this is probably what I all I can achieve. And somehow we create this story that that's a thing. So tell me about that struggle. If that was your number one challenge or struggle, how did that make you feel?
Um, I don't know that it made me feel bad, right? It became my expectation, it became my reality.
Mm.
Um, what is more eye-opening now is being on this side of it, my ability to set a higher bar and have greater aspirations, but it's just gone so much further beyond what it would have been um, prior to this program.
Yeah. Awesome. So at the time, there wasn't any necessarily positive or negative emotions or feelings tied to it. It was more so just, hey, that's my reality. This is kind of where my expectation is. And it was just life that you were living. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right. And I would also add, like, I wouldn't say that it's all like, yeah, I had body image issues. I still do. Like the areas where I
Sure.
have body
Everybody
where
does.
I had body image issues, they still exist. Like where my body carries its fat are
Mhm.
still my thickest areas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are the ones I look at first, but like what I love, I mean, the before and after pictures just made such a difference. I mean, I've saved those because it's wild. The front, not so much. You can tell, like, it's not that it wasn't great, but my side, my profile view,
Hmm.
my side view, it's like, whoa, it's a huge change
Yeah.
in those people. So, I mean, certainly I was, unhappy at a certain level with my physique, but now I'm not going to try and keep my shirt on when I go to the pool
Mm.
as long as possible until right before I get into the pool. Now I'm just like, I'll just take it off when it's time to take it off. It's just you just take it off
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
go, and just a little more freedom in thought that way.
I love that. It's almost that I love how you said freedom, because freedom is so powerful, right? When you feel different and you've got more confidence that you've created, you have freedom to do whatever it is, because now you have a skill set. You have the ability to say, well, wait a minute, I know what training different looks like. I know what eating a little bit different looks like. I know how now you can take these tools and you can apply those things in multiple aspects to continue to push yourself, push your physique into areas that um, maybe you couldn't have before without this skill set. And I think that's one of the things I find most rewarding is knowing that when someone finishes a transformation like you have, you're now walking away with things that nobody can take from you, right? You have
Yeah.
not only the experience, but you have the knowledge. I think one of the things I love that you said last time was, hey, I can eat and I can slam that, was it a donut or an apple fritter or whatever?
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. We did talk about those. Those were good.
yeah, and you don't have to worry about them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. So it's such a cool feeling. So I love that that you now have a skill set that you can take with you and you can apply in so many different areas, and you can continue to push this thing forward. So absolutely love that. Um, so talk to me about when you, looking back and then looking now, what changed the most at the completion of the 16 weeks? What was the biggest change? What were the biggest transformations that you noticed?
Um, I'll give it a twofold answer. We'll talk physically and then we'll talk mentally, because I think both have shown up with. I've seen major changes in both. Um, Physically, I have definition of muscle in my body, and I think I had told you, like, I mean, I've done CrossFit, I've had a personal trainer, and did CrossFit for a few years, had a personal trainer for at least a year, and and never saw what I see now. And um, and so to actually have that definition in my body is, I mean, kind of to that same, I did dial in back your expectations. I'm just not someone who does that, right? I have skinny arms. I just can't, right? And but now I still got skinny arms, but I've got defined skinny arms.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And and I think I told you I grew at least an inch in my bicep,
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
that was, I had done measurements with my personal trainer, and it never changed. Like it never got bigger. And so I don't know if, I know in the 30s actually, like there's actually a lot you can do in your 30s where it seems like more and more people are like resigning to be like, nah, this is just what I am. Like almost
right.
like the 40s moving to your 30s, and you should have done it in your 20s because you're not going to have, but like I don't know if my body in my 30s is like, no, I'm ready for like, doing this now or whatever it is. So that physically, that piece is really good. The mental piece, I would say is more long lasting and probably more beneficial. And because it is 16 weeks, I am someone who goes to the gym regularly
Mm,
because of the way you structured it. And we started with 3 days at the gym. And if I ever created a program for myself prior to this, it would have been, I never would have extended beyond 3 days a week.
yeah, yeah.
It just would have been normal. But, you know, because the program pushed then to 4 and then 5 and 6 times a week, I had to find ways to be able to make those gym days possible. And And then it became, my wife now really encourages me, like, no, 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 you should still go this many days, right? Because like, like she has to make sacrifices so I can be at the gym and other things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But that so that mental idea of like, yeah, I can do that, and then the tracking is just, it is so important. And it was, I spent a long time, like towards the end of the program, finding myself a new app that I could, um, get a lot of what I loved from Trainerize, as far as being able to track and see what I had done prior, because I found I'm someone who loves to add the weight, add 5 more pounds or 10 more pounds, or try and do one more rep, or when you just have those moments you just couldn't do as much as you did a few days prior. It was really bugged me, right? That
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I didn't do as much as I did last time. And um the that change of being self-comparative versus outwardly comparative is, I think, a huge piece. I'm reading a book right now called The Gap and the Gain, and they
Yeah.
talk a
Yeah.
lot about that, as far as like, looking at the gain, and those apps really help you track that gain that you are seeing over time. So yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So a client of mine, consulting client of mine, it's her nephew that wrote that book.
Oh,
So
wow, cool.
yeah, yeah, pretty cool. He's a pretty smart kid. Um,
Yeah.
very cool. Well, a couple of things. Let me just point out, just from a coaching perspective, one thing I love that you talk about is that you did CrossFit before, which is a structured program, right? You with personal training before, which is most of the time a fairly structured program when you're with a
Yeah.
trainer. But having a plan is different than doing a structured program. Having a plan that progresses, that pushes you through the different stages. One thing I will tell you is it has nothing to do with age. So it's not that your body's 30 and it can just is ready to prep and ready to go, right? It has everything to do with a structured plan. Because I've got people who are in their 50s who are doing the exact same thing right now. I've got people in their 40s. I've actually got two people in their 70s and half a dozen in their 60s, and they're all seeing the same results, relatively, right? So the progression is there. My people that are in their 70s, they are all getting stronger. They're getting leaner. They're making those changes because they're following the overall plan and protocol. And so it really is about a structured plan that goes through different cycles of training. So you noticed as you went through the plan, the 3 days a week was different than the 4 days a week because we're playing with
Yeah.
frequency of the times that you're in the gym. But you also notice that your rep ranges, your set ranges, your tempos, your rest between sets, all of those things changed. And they changed for a specific reason because we're trying to get a physiological adaptation. And so understanding that there is true science behind this, that the reason I tell you that is so that you can feel confident that it doesn't matter what age you are, you will continue to be able to recreate these results. When you're 80 years old, you will be able to create these results. Um, the oldest guy that I'm currently training, it's not the oldest that I've ever trained, but the oldest guy that I'm currently training is 77 years old. Doctors told him he couldn't run. Said, no way. You've had hip surgery. There's no way you can run. Um, 3 weeks in, guess what he's doing? He's running.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
So it doesn't matter how old you are. It's just a matter of applying the right scientific principles. The other thing that you said that I think is really cool is you did CrossFit, you had a trainer, and now you did it on your own, right? And come back to what we talked about a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, where I said, "Hey, Dan, the programs are designed for people who will be self motivated and who will keep themselves accountable and will continue to do the things, and the check in is going to be." The touching base here and there, but this is primarily for people who are driven. Like the majority of the clientele that I work with are top level executives. They are people who are motivated. They're driven. They're people who are looking, like you said, what's the gain, right? Can I get another 5 pounds? And you fit into that bucket. You are a person that says, I am not going to stop. I am not going to just let be what is. And so this is perfect for you because you absolutely killed it. And the
Thank
reason I
you.
bring this up is this is the thing that will keep you being successful in the future. So understand this is a commodity that you now own. You own this commodity of this knowledge that age doesn't matter. It's the progression and the plan that makes all the difference. And it's the one more rep, the 5 more pounds. That's going to be the key to all of it. So amazing work. Like it's so cool. And I love to hear about your transformation of kind of becoming a person that goes to the gym. So
Yeah,
that is really
yeah,
cool.
I could have done it, but now it's just like I can't imagine not going. I can't imagine like
Exactly.
it's just I remember like, I might miss a Saturday workout and so it would be like from Friday to Monday that I had been to the gym and it started to feel like I got to get to the gym. I'm not like where I got to do something in the gym. And so I've never really had a feeling like that before. It was good.
Yeah. Well, there was a point, I want to say it was around week somewhere maybe around week 12. Um that I felt great because like I told you before, it's a 16-week program because most programs are 12 weeks and that's what people are used to, but I found it takes at least 16 weeks to really integrate into your habits. And somewhere around 12 weeks, I noticed that I would get messages from you as like, hey, by the way, I missed this workout. I'm going to get it in. And there was this, I didn't reach out and ask. You just started
Yeah.
being accountable to that. And
Yeah.
I've always said there's accountability in two ways, me to you to me. And when I know somebody has made a mental shift is when it's you to me. You are reaching out and saying, hey, I missed this. I'm going to do it now. um, that is a seismic shift in overall personal accountability and ownership that it's going to be hard for you to go back on that. Like you
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
continue to be accountable for a long time, if not the rest of your life on that. So
It's
um, it's
absolutely.
huge. Yeah, it's huge.
Today
Great
was
job
leg
there.
day. I got
Yeah,
I got legs. I did my legs today. That was solid. It was a good one.
yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk about the next one. What are the things that the results that you're most proud of?
Most proud of I mean I would just say the way my body looks um would be number one. It was actually funny last night. So I bought some like just wife beater tank tops
Yeah,
a
yeah.
while back. It was before the program that I bought them. I put it on and I was like, oh, this looks bad. Like it just was like more trailer park looking than anything else.
Nice,
And
nice.
uh, but I put it on, I found it and I just like put it, I was like, "Oh, I wonder like I've gained muscle like and so I put it on last night and it was like totally and the reason I did it was I was trying to show my wife, I was like, all the high school kids, this is what they wear to the gym.
Yeah, they really
They
do.
tuck it in and they wear this wife beater
Yeah,
and and anyways, but it looked so different. And I went got together with some of my high school buddies last week and it was a pool party. I got comments from multiple of them just saying how like trim and like good I'm
nice.
looking. And so that again, that piece was like it's a mental plateau that has been raised
Hmm.
of what my body could actually look like. And prior to this, and maybe that's why they're so fun and so astounding is because it's far surpassed my expectations of what I could actually look like. And I know I'm not giving up. I know I can get leaner through my core, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
I'm still pushing for.
Which we'll talk about that in just a second because I've actually got something
Okay,
I'm going to give you here soon. Um,
cool.
just as a thank you for going through this. Um, so I love that you're most proud of the physical results. It's amazing what that does to overall confidence, status. I mean, we like to think that we don't care about status, which is kind of dumb that we think that, but we all care about
Yeah,
status. I mean, if you went to your wife and said, hey, honey, I just bought you a Ferrari, she'd probably say, no, thank you. Because if she's the only mom driving a Ferrari, her status is going to go down because
yeah,
her status is not who's driving the Ferrari. Her status
Yeah.
is she a good mom? Which a minivan or a car that would drive that signals I'm a good mom is a status symbol, right? Whereas a Ferrari is one that's the opposite status symbol. Now it might be different for guys like you and I. If we drive a Ferrari, that's a totally different status symbol, right? Because then we're perceived as being intelligent in business and figuring out a way that we can create the money, right? So status is important. And when you have the physique that creates the status where people are like, dude, you got it put together, it shows competence, right? And as men, I think more than anything, we want to exude confidence and competence. So very, very cool to see that.
I'll add to
Dan,
that that there's been
yeah,
a number of times where I'm sitting in between reps, I'm staring at myself in the mirror, and I've just like sat like on my rest. I've just stared myself in the eyes and
nice.
just sort of took myself in of
Love
what do I
that.
look like and what do I exude, and it really has changed. Like status would probably be a way, like I think of people who I might like kind of feel a little bit inferior to them or something like that, and it just really sort of like this instilled like no one's better than me,
Yeah,
and
love
I'm
that.
not better than anybody else, but no one else is better than me also,
Yeah,
and I can
yeah,
talk to anybody. I can carry myself with anybody, and why wouldn't I've got all kinds of other stuff going on outside of my life. Like this is stuff you guys don't even know. Like my mom's been on hospice through this process. Like
oh my gosh,
I've
wow.
been
Oh,
like going down and caring for them. So a number of times when I've
wow.
missed workouts. It might be because I'm down with my mom. It's a long process. Like
Sure.
this will be a long journey, and it's been 10 years in the making too. So there's just a lot to do with that, and then family and stuff like that. And so those are usually the things that fed into me missing things. But this has been such a great piece of something that I can control. And then again, kind of back to where I started with this conversation is like, or started with this discussion piece is just like that confidence really has shown up just by looking at me. I'm someone I know who I could walk into a room and, like you said, people would be like, "Oh, that guy's got it together."
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
other people, even at work, with my clothes on, I never take my clothes off at work, but they're
Hmm.
like, you're looking good." Like they can tell even with my clothes on
Hmm.
that I look bigger and better. So
Yeah. I love that. And I mean, you've got a lot going for you. Obviously, you're a taller guy, you're a good looking guy. You get in great shape like this, and that commands so much presence. People listen to leaders that are in better shape than they do leaders who are not. It has been shown in study after study after study. And so when you show up as a leader that just has better posture, better physique, better tone, you just command presence. And when you think about a leadership message, so let's say you're going to go in and coach, or you're going to do a presentation, or you need to bring the team together. We always talk about that presentation or that expectation that you're trying to get out there. You're going to give a message, and it's either going to come across as neutral, or they're going to discount it, or they're going to 10x it, right? And if you're a leader that has integrity, you're a leader that has focus and competence, people will probably be right in the middle. If you're a leader that lacks some of those things, then it's going to be discounted. If you're a leader that has built up great relationships, then it's going to be more on the positive side. The way that you push more towards the 10x is by showing up with a language that commands a certain presence. And 70+% of how we communicate is through the language of the body, right? The visual skills that we have are what communicate more than the verbal and the voice, right? So when we think of the three V's of communication, visual, verbal, and voice, the body is, and the way you carry yourself, about 70% of that communication. And so changing the body now brings it to where when you show up, you automatically will get more respect, you'll get more presence, and you'll be more on this side of people 10xing your message because you have this credibility. So I love the fact that you're getting that right now. And as you continue to develop yourself, physically, you're going to get even more of that. There's no doubt. I've seen this time and time again. I've actually got a guy who's a CEO, runs a couple of businesses. And as he has just leaned up a little bit, we put a little bit of muscle on, but he's gotten leaner. He'll show up and he's got clients that just are listening to him. In fact, he had a situation he told me about this morning where a client had reached out and was like, "Hey, I noticed this. Can we meet? I think I've got 1,000 leads for you of people that could potentially use your product. And we want to find a way to partner with you and give you these 1,000 leads because we think there's great synergy." And he's like, okay, awesome. So
Yeah.
this could be something that like literally 10x's his business. So I'm excited for you because I'm sure that same type of thing is going to happen. Dan, what would
Thanks.
you say to somebody who's on the fence with purchasing or starting a 16-week?
Simply enough, I'd be like, just do it. Like, don't like just do it. Like, sign up for it and just start, right? Like, just start and just see what starts to happen and what changes with it. Um, I think people can be in different mental spaces, and there are times when starting a program like this makes sense, and other times it doesn't make sense.
Sure.
But um, I think that the journey is so personal that I would be like hesitant to really give anything like, overly like, oh, you're gonna do this or you're gonna do that. But like,
Right. Right.
like I would just say it will change you for the better, and just start, right? And I think that's the easiest way. Like, it probably helped me not knowing what was coming next as we would change every 4 weeks into something
Yep.
different. It was more of
Yeah.
like I'd go look at it and be like, oh, whoa, wait a second, like I'm changing this. Like, okay, now I got to figure out how to do this. And so, yeah, at the very least, it would just be like, just start, and you will see a transformation.
Cool. Awesome. Anything else to add? Anything we didn't cover?
I would No, it's been really good. I was looking through all kinds of yeah, I just knew I couldn't stop this. So I mean, I spent a bunch of time looking for different apps, and some people had recommended ones. I looked at them and I was like, nah, it's not really what I'm looking for. And at least that worked for me.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, and I've screenshot all of our programs so that I can take them and then take pieces from them and work them into my
Awesome.
future work plans. And
Love
so
that.
I've gone in templates, and I've mostly carried on what we've done in the last 4 weeks.
Hmm.
I've mostly carried those over, and then I've like switched up a couple things, added a few things, done some more stuff with my chest and other areas like that, and just I'm playing around with it to kind of see what I can just have fun with it. Really, I think
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
get stale in something, but have fun in the different programs. So
I love that. That makes me probably the most happy of anything. Where you just say, I just want to have fun with it, because
yeah,
that is if movement becomes fun, um, it'll be locked in for life, right? If you're playing with something, if you say, God, what would happen if I did this? What would happen if I did that? That means you are converted for life. Because if you can keep that mentality, you will play with this. And I can't imagine where you're going to be 5 years from now. Like, what is that going to look like? Are you going to be
yeah,
doing like just crazy stuff? I mean, I've got a guy that I just started back up with. I trained him 20 years ago. Came into me, he's like, I need some help, and we got through this massive transformation. He did an amazing job. He got committed for life. He's been working out for life. And then at one point he said, "Hey man, I'm doing Spartans. I've done this Spartan beast now a couple times, and it just kicks my butt. And here are what I think my weak areas are. Let's get going." And so we assessed where his weaknesses are. We're starting on a program. And I told him, I said, I'm 100% confident we're going to knock anywhere between 1 to 2 hours off of your Spartan Beast next year, guaranteed, just by focusing on some of these areas. Like take it to the bank. We are going to knock 1 to 2 hours off. And, this is a guy that 20 years later, he's just finding new ways to challenge himself. And I said, so if we were to look at like a perfect world, what would you really want to do? He goes, I'd want to do the one where you do the beast and then you do the beast back to back, like subsequent days. I'm like, that's pretty intense. He goes, yeah, maybe
yeah.
10 years down the road. I said, How about we shoot for 3? Let's get you next year taking an hour or two off. And then the next year, let's go maybe 30 minutes to another hour off. And then the next year, let's get you back to back. He goes, I love it. I bring that up so that you can see kind of a vision, right? That what's the next big challenge? The biggest question that I would challenge you to ask yourself right now is, what do I want to look like? And what do I want to be doing 10 years from now? And the reason it's a 10-year question is because a year from now, 3 years from now, those become the stepping stones for the 10-year. The 10-year makes us think longer term. The 10-year also makes it to where, if you've got to go help out mom and you're taking care of her and you're making some of those changes and transitions and you have to adjust a workout on a Saturday and maybe you do it on a Sunday, you don't beat yourself up over it because you got a 10-year goal, right? Because the one of the biggest mental barriers that I see people making before they understand what health and wellness is really about is they start playing these what I call, or what James Cars calls, um, the not the infinite game but the finite games. They're playing finite games with their health and fitness. They're saying, well, if I just lose 10 pounds, okay, now I lost 10 pounds, then boom, it's all done, right? We're in an infinite game. Health and fitness is an infinite game. And so what we're doing is we're just coming up with new challenges to get us to the longer state. So if you can ask yourself the 10-year question, what happens is the 10-year question will then be the way that you can reverse engineer to get to the success that you're after. And so 3 years from now, maybe you've decided you're going to go climb a mountain and all of your training starts to focus towards that. Or 3 years from now, maybe you want to be, paragliding somewhere in the Alps, and you want to be able to do that, and then come down and just tear your shirt off and be completely ripped, right? Whatever it is. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
3 years from now, maybe you are a fitness guy that's teaching other people with diabetes how to get lean and shredded and have abs like you have, right? I mean, whatever it is, whatever the 10-year is, we just reverse engineer it from there. So
I'll add one thing that I really liked
yeah,
in the tracking is so one thing you brought up I learned at the beginning of this was that we're measured in weeks, not in days,
yes,
right? The week is the big piece, not the day to day. And that it was a huge mental shift for me. And then that so the actual tracking of the food and what I ate actually helped curb my negative thinking.
oh
So
cool,
that without tracking it, if I, had those bear claws or whatever it is, right? Like I had
yeah,
a whole, burger with, the bun and everything on it, right?
yep,
Um, those moments would mentally they would stick with me, and I would have a negative self-talk running
yeah,
through those.
yeah,
More so gave me permission to be like, no, I know I'm in a calorie deficit for this whole week. Like I
yeah,
have been
yeah,
tracking it. I know I'm under what I need to for this week, and this is not going to do anything to me. And so it was really nice of a way to be able to push back on those negative thoughts with
cool,
confidence.
very cool. It's amazing what accountability can do, right? We tend to think of accountability as like this negative thing, but as soon as we start accounting for things, we're like, nah, okay, it's actually good. I can eat that,
I would
right?
I would say that, and I'd raise it on an intentionality,
Oh,
right?
I
If
like
you're
that.
being that, my food was intentional. And that means my desserts too, right? Or my
Hmm.
treats of whatever version, salty, sweet, whatever, and fatty, whatever it is.
Yeah,
But that everything became intentional. And so that like I ate intentionally so that I could treat intentionally
yeah,
and things
yeah,
like yeah.
cool. Awesome, man. Well, great job overall. Let me just point out a few things that I noticed. The mindset thing I think was really cool to see. I saw that throughout, and like I mentioned before, I noticed a shift in terms of the accountability piece. I love seeing the mindset changes, but your physique changes were just unbelievable. I mean, your back is crazy. The thickness and the definition that you have on your back is unbelievable. The build in your chest, the development of your shoulders, posture is improving, waistline has gone down. Like everything is just getting better and better and better. your V taper, if you look at and compare the side to side just on your V taper alone from the back, that is like so cool. When I saw that, my jaw dropped. I was like, dude, you are getting thick in your back. It is so cool to see. And for me, I'm a big fan of backs because the back shows that you're working the muscles that are not just the things that you see. And strong backs build everything else. So that made me super happy to see that. So physical changes were amazing, mental changes were amazing. I love seeing all of it. I'd be really curious to see, if you were to get all your blood work done, what changes are you noticing from a full blood panel? That would be really fascinating for me. But overall, I think that the changes have just been extraordinary. And the reality is, we didn't go through this massive caloric deficit piece. What we focused on was let's get you eating within this range. Let's get the macronutrients dialed in, and then let's lean into the training. And what's happened is you built muscle, which for every pound of muscle that you're building, you're burning an extra 6 to 8 calories per hour with that extra muscle, which has gotten you leaner, right? And so we didn't even lean into this whole idea of let's really drop the caloric intake because we wanted to pack muscle on, knowing that that's the long term play. Muscle
Yep.
is like money in the bank. If you got money in the bank and you can now invest it wherever you want. If we just go to let's slim you down and get rid of the fat first, you don't have as much money in the bank. And so you put some serious money in the bank.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Congratulations.
A big thank you. I mean, it is clear you know how to build programs, man. Like this is cool.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
yeah, I never could have imagined I would be at this point at this time. And fun milestone for me, I signed up for my gym membership on my birthday
Uh-huh.
in May. And so I was right before we kicked this off. And so
Oh,
it's
cool.
like kind of fun to see like I have this really nice milestone of like a year, right? Like as we do this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm excited
Yeah.
for it. Just do it. Sign up for it and like and just start, right? Like just start and just see what starts to happen and what changes.